And if the party says that it is not 4, but 5, then how many? 4. How can I help seeing what is in front of my eyes? 2 and 2 are 4. The sound of the machine, the noises made when O'Brien had turned the dial, and the pleas of mercy that came from the withering gray-haired man, had caused John night terrors, like the one he had just suffered. It had been months since he and his comrade had thrown the man in room 101, but that experience had stuck with him. The slightest error, the mere crack of a door, led to him hearing bits of the conversation between the two. Always had he been told that the individuals from the room would try to appear innocent, yet were actually trained enemies of Big Brother. But at that point, it had been clear that some had no intentions to harm Big Brother, and others simply sought to practice unorthodoxy. But regardless of the reason, none were professionals. After the session had finished, he had to maintain a stoic expression, lest O'Brien was to read his mind too. But no longer could he practice doublethink. Now on the daily did he fight secretly against Big Brother, committing thought crime before he went to sleep, and other acts. He knew better than to attempt to recruit his comrades, or exhibit unloyal behavior in the open, or even around his room, where the telescreen could likely observe any writing, where a suspicious thought police could find it and incriminate him for his work. Fortunately for him, he had no family. A preemptive measure he had taken when he began work in the Ministry of Love, so there was no room for possible lust or love for a partner. But now it simply eliminated another variable. No one was in his house to report any words spoken in a dream. During the 2-minute hate, he yelled greater than ever before, "Hail, Big Brother! Thanks be to them for diminishing our opponents." At that point, the victory in Africa had just recently occurred, and although he cared little for how the war went, he knew any relent in his exhibition of hatred for the other country would surely make him a suspect. Victory must be near. Thank you for taking them all. Hang them. Do as you please, O infallible Big Brother, said another woman. Much later now had the African victory taken place, and despite best efforts, morale had begun to wear down. It seemed that more and more were being vaporized, and the portions were decreasing. All things John noted mentally, blocking out the deceitful Ministry of Truth's talk of always increasing prosperity. Furthermore, although John was never there to see it in person, he could hear more and more missiles striking Oceania, though such a thing was noted by the press. As these things occurred, it seemed Big Brother was tolerating more and more unorthodox behavior, like the increase of sexual unorthodoxy that had resulted from the more common mingling of party members and proles. No longer were the two suppressed by the rare hidden thought police, but John himself didn't take any risk, just yet. Then, one day, the entirety of Oceania was taken by storm. All this had happened the day after John was told that attack was imminent, yet not to tell anyone else, or he himself would be vaporized. Boom! John awoke to the compound he worked at, which had been torn up, seemingly affected by a distant missile. With what was probably the best luck he'd ever experienced, he got up with but a few cuts and disorientation. He made his way out of the compound, greeted by several men who looked like the detained, sullen faces who Big Brother once denounced as traitors. Seeing his uniform, their voices rang out to him and their weapons rose in unity. He got down to his knees, trying in vain to communicate with them that he wasn't a threat. Just then, his old guard mate, Ryan, who now bore the same clothes and equipment as the other soldiers, stepped forward. John noticed he'd disappeared, but assumed he'd been vaporized. After an exchange between Ryan and the other soldiers, John was free from the weapons staring back at him. As it turned out, Eurasia had taken control, and the last of Big Brother, the inner party members, had taken to hiding, or been driven out and gone off to a distant land. Finally, John thought with a smile on his face, Big Brother is no more.